Welcome back, everyone, to another great edition of the Broker to Broker podcast. My name is Mark Summers. I am lucky enough to be able to say I am the president of AIM. So today, really looking forward to this one, as I do all the time. Sound like a broken record? I don't care, because I always look forward to these, because selfishly I get a lot out of these. But today I'm going to be interviewing a mortgage broker with Luna Lending, and he goes by the name of Aaron Hinson. Aaron, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Mark.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll dive into this stuff here. I know you had a great discovery call with our team here, and these things I don't think can ever go. That we can't talk about these things enough, which is obviously going to be about your background, the clients, community, building a team. We can never talk enough about these. You know what I mean? Because there's always different ways to do them. That you can always grab something from someone else. So let's hop into it here. Tell me about your background. I want to know like how you guys started in this industry. Give me the timeline of whether you've been with 5 companies, one company. It doesn't matter. Give me the whole detail background.
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Maryland and went to college, but didn't really go. Went to a lot of concerts, had a lot of fun, and got into serving and bartending. And after about 7 years of kind of being in college and working in restaurants, I was managing restaurants, and I love food and I loved hospitality. And I actually think you get a lot of the skills in the restaurant business. If you can do that, you can do a lot of things. But I always thought I would do that forever. And around 2005, I had moved in with my girlfriend at the time, and I thought restaurants were great. Like I got free food and booze, and it was fun. Um, but she said, "Hey, you got to get an office job." In 2005, we had just moved in together, so I'm going through and I see an ad for make big money, and this is before the meltdown, and it was in a call center selling mortgages. Didn't really know what a mortgage was, and got on the phones, and a couple months later, pockets were full and President's Club trips, and over time started learning the business more and getting more involved, but really just kind of started in a call center because my girlfriend at the time said get an office job, and that's the best thing I ever did was get into mortgages.
So how long were you in that call center for?
About 3 years. I worked up to a sales manager, and I had a team. I'm still friends with some of those guys. My original manager at the time is still a mentor. Their companies had a few incarcerations, but I'd say right about till 2008 when everything just kind of went like that. And at that time, I moved from Baltimore out to Denver, where I lived for 8 years. But I worked for that company with three different names for about 3 years. I was a sales manager towards the end of that. Just pounding the phones.
Okay, walk me through that. So is it safe to say that was retail?
Yeah, that
Okay,
very much. Yeah.
which most call centers are, but you do have a few brokers that kind of have these little mini call centers, which is fine. But walk me through that. I mean, how many calls were you making a day? What were the conversations like?
Yeah, it was a great sales model that I utilized in some of my business. It was strictly refinances. That was strictly lending tree, that little green frog guy,
Yep.
and just calls coming in. It was all cash out refis. Not to give away too many secrets, but may or may not have focused on lower credit scores, looking for HELOCs,
Yep. Yep.
which are easy to convert refis. Uh, Model will identify and that not really knowing too much about the loans, but it's just it's just slinging refis.
Yeah, no, gotcha. Okay, so how did you and when did you crack into the broker world?
Gosh, August of 2019, so not that long ago.
Okay, so you came over the broker channel. What do you think is the biggest difference that you see? And I mean, we all know brokers being brokers better, right?
Right.
But what's the biggest difference that you see?
Um, that's a great question, and there's a lot to say on that. But I think the main things is that I've always been an advocate for my client, and I would do whatever it took to do right by them, regardless. And I found in retail that I had to be a jerk a lot. I was fighting with processing that thought they were an underwriter or overlays. Don't Not even mentioning pricing, but obviously pricing is a factor, and you'll get trained to just not sell rates or whatever that means. But I found that no matter how hard I worked or how much I cared or how much passion I put into my work, someone else was jamming me up. Someone else was in my way for delivering for my client. And as a lot of you know, the California DRE is kind of slow on licensing, so it took like a year just to get set up and get into brokering. But I'd say the biggest difference is the control.
Mhm.
Like if you, I had to humble, I had to humble myself because when I worked retail, it wasn't my business, it wasn't my company. Take it or leave it. This is the operational model, and it may or may not make sense to me, but it is what it is. Whereas as a broker, you get to get more hands on, and if this doesn't work good, it's our business, so we can make adjustments and changes to optimize things better. So I found that if something went wrong as a broker, like if something goes wrong today, it's probably my fault.
Within
um,
reason, yeah.
yeah. Whereas was on the retail channel, it was just more butting heads. So that was the biggest difference is just seeing my hard work. You know, not have things get in my way and less roadblocks to have a more seamless process. And the pricing.
Yeah, yeah, pricing is always better. But the one thing I love about the broker side of things, and whether you're part of a small company, you own your own company, whatever the case may be, you can be yourself. You know what I mean? And that's what I truly love about it. I've seen scripts from retail people and talk to them like, okay, how would you handle this situation? And they want to act one way, but they can't. You know what I mean? Because they're under that corporate structure and they got to be someone else. And that's what I've always loved about being a broker is I can be myself, take it or leave it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's huge. Being authentic it really comes apart, and it I think it sets us apart, and it's just cooler. I agree with you.
It's much cooler. Okay, so you've been in the broker world for about 3 years. You're crushing it. You're doing a great job. So now let's talk about let's dive into the mortgages and the most important thing in my eyes is always the clients and community. The people that surround us, and that's another great thing about being a broker is that we really get to dive into our community. You know what I mean? So, how involved are you in your local community?
Pretty involved. I'm from Baltimore. I lived in Denver for 8 years, and when I moved to South Lake Tahoe about 5 years ago, and I just showed up with the stuff in my car. I was going to grow a mortgage business and see what happened, and it worked out that way. It was just a heck of a lot harder than I thought it would be. But it's a really small town, which I think makes it a lot easier to get involved and to make a difference. I love to snowboard. There's a big part of why I moved to Lake Tahoe is because I'm 5 minutes from the chairlift, and that was important to me.
Okay.
So when I got out there, I joined a really cool group called SOS Outreach, where it's linked up with Vail, but they help at-risk kids get a ski pass and gear, and they get a mentor, and you get to get out there and ride with them. And it was just really exciting. And I was at an older stage in my life where I could uh, give more, and volunteer. So doing the SOS snowboarding with the kids was really rewarding. Um, and then you get to meet people within the community very hands on, and from there I joined a group which is CASA. It's court appointed child advocates. It's a little heavier. Those are kids caught up in CPS and heavier things, and
Mhm.
you're going to court. So I got involved with that and working with them, and um, teaching a life skills class at our secondary high school. And it's kind of like a funnel because once people in a small town get the sense that you like to give back, you'll get to get involved in a lot of things. I became a board member 2.5 years ago, maybe, of the Tahoe Regional Young Professionals Group. For the record, YPN is just young at heart. I'm 42. I might act like a young guy, but yeah, YPNs are super fun because it's just like-minded people. And I get tired of talking about real estate and mortgages 12 hours a day. When I go network, I don't always want to talk about loans. Like I just don't. And it's interesting to hear what like computer programmers or marketers or
Mhm.
other entrepreneurs um, are doing. So I like to get involved in all sorts of ways. And then as as my business has scaled, I feel guilty, but I haven't had as quite as much time to to volunteer hands-on. So it's great to make donations. Like we make donations to Boys and Girls Club and the Tahoe Women's Community Fund, and just trying to give back in any way you can. Um, Obviously, we're not necessarily doing these things for the return. You're doing them because it feels good and it makes your community better. But it also has absolutely helped grow our business, and it differentiates ourselves, because it's like like US Bank as an example, they might sponsor things and they're big, huge organizations. If Little Luna Lending can come in and have our name right next to them, sponsoring an event and get our name out there and be helping the community, I think that's a big part of it. I like small mountain town living, just being at the top of a mountain. And, I hope to always be able to volunteer and be a part of the community. It kind of balances me out because, like, calling underwriter, screaming an underwriter, yeah, this condition's whack, blah, blah, blah. Hey, and then you're helping people. So kind of keeps us human a little bit, I
Yeah,
think.
no, and you hit the nail on the head where, it's just extremely important that when we're a part of our community, and whether it is monetary donations, whether it's just helping kids, helping families, whatever the case may be, you don't do it looking for an ROI. You know what I mean? You're not doing it to get an investment back. You do it, and then it comes naturally.
Absolutely. I mean, I've, excuse me, especially with being a mentor. Um, I find I learn as much as I get as much back as I give, and I'll say things maybe my dad said to me 30 years ago that I thought was ridiculous, and then I hear myself say it, I'm like, oh, wow, you're
Right.
old, man. So yeah, it's like it really is rewarding. Going in and teaching 18-year-olds or 17-year-olds that are about to graduate high school and go out into the world how a credit card works is really important because I learned all this stuff the wrong way. Like I went to concerts with my first credit card and didn't pay it for 5 years, and now I know how to fix credit because of my profession. But um, it's good information and it's really healthy. It's I think in this business, it can consume you if you let it, and whether it's snowboarding or volunteering or music or I don't have any kids or anything. I have a great girlfriend. Hi, Stephanie. But anything to keep us balanced is going to make us more whole. So I think it's really important.
That's perfect. I love your outlook on everything. That's absolutely perfect. So, okay, so let's say you're volunteering, you're doing whatever. That person's parent call. However, you get, let's just say, a client, right,
Uh-huh.
from something that you're doing, networking or whatever the case may be. Walk me through the process of the moment that they call you or email you to till you get to a CTC.
Um, I think I really, whether it's like a parent of someone I've worked with or someone in the community that was recommended, um, I think people can smell trust, and I think that they can smell intentions. And I think maybe if you're not as busy or you're, because I've been in a place when I moved to Tahoe where I was like needing like that deal. Like I need to get a deal to make it. And if you find yourself at a place where your intentions are your business or your profit or whatever it might be, you're just not as authentic. But I really think it's trying to understand where to meet that person at. I'd love to ask the question. Someone call, could be a quick call like, hey, I'm so and so, here's my link, blah blah blah. But I love to ask the question, can you just tell me about where you are right now, what your goals are, and what you think's important for me? Because if we pause and think about it, we never know what this client has heard before about buying a home. Probably 70% of it's wrong. We don't know what research they've done.
Right.
So we want to start at the beginning, but I just like to say that and I go, and I'm all ears. And I just shut up and I listen and I have my notepad up and I take any notes. And I think I learned this back in my call center days, the importance of listening, and just they'll tell you what you need to know. Like, yeah, we're going to ask how long you've had your job or what kind of assets you have and all that nerdy stuff. But the meat and potatoes is what's your vision here, and getting them to open up. And then I think the whole progression from there is just more human because they've opened up to you about where they are, and now you get the opportunity to plug that in with your insight and experience to kind of dial it in into a product or a financial solution. that's going to fit them because you've gotten to understand them. So I guess to answer your question, Mark, is just open the door and just let them get out whatever they want to get out, and then start dialing it in from there.
Yeah, no, and telling's not selling. And I think the most, best way to quote unquote sell and do what we do is exactly what you said. Ask questions. Ask questions. They'll tell us what they need and what they want, and we can advise them maybe of something they didn't know. They don't do this every day. We do.
Absolutely. And don't maybe not take everything for granted because there's so many misconceptions or misunderstandings, like, my credit score is 780. I got to get it up to 800. Or, I've only been at my job for a year and 10 months. I got to wait 2 months. It's like, I don't know who told you that. I'm glad we're talking.
Right. Now, do you put certain requirements on yourself of how you communicate with your clients throughout the entire loan process?
um, Expectations, yeah, and honestly, it's something I could do better. I think I can tell how well I'm doing by how many phone calls I make. I personally, I think something I could do better is less emails. It's so tempting just to bang out a ABC email and to live in email. And on a good day, so I try to block some time because a phone call, even if you've got nothing to say, if you just go through your pipeline and you check in and ask about their kids, and I think that that's better. And I've noticed that transition, since I went from like processing my own loans and being all by myself to having an LOA and an LP and having some support that ideally I might not have ever seen their pay stubs, but I've trained someone to look at them, and I can call and find out how the turkey was on Thanksgiving. Like those things are a lot more enjoyable to talk about. So I would say phone calls are important, and it's a reminder I could make more. I'll make them after this. Um, Automating things is good to an extent if you can automate some communications, but at least as of now, I think the phone call takes the cake.
Yeah, I mean that human interaction is absolutely huge, especially kind of in the world we're living in right now. People want human interaction. Yeah, I mean for the most part. So how do you use any online resources? Like, are you big like with your website, Facebook, any type of social media?
Yeah, I run some Google ads, and I've got a website. I have a company that runs my Google. Probably 90% of our business is organic, but I'm trying to kind of find that secret sauce with marketing budget. I really like Wiki Realty in that
Mhm.
they post pertinent topics in my community. Not necessarily something I can quantify with leads necessarily, but I think it builds our social media following. I love once a day, like if you don't know what to do and you got 60 seconds to spare, like a brand 360, this or that, like goes to everything. I use Flowify. I love MBS Highway.
Yep.
Those refi worksheets, because it's like that really sets you apart from other loan officers. Like another loan officer is going to send a fee worksheet with their rates, and this is a 30-year fixed. And an MBS Highway, um, mortgage coach, I guess, is similar, but I use MBS. But you can say, well, look, like this is your mortgage now. This is this mortgage. This is the payment difference. This is the short game. Take this little bar, and in 6 years, you said your kids are going to college in a few years and you might move to Panama, right? I don't know. But like, all right, well, if you do this equity in that time, oh, and you're not anything, you're just, so I think giving the information like that explains it. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes I'll get to talking and I'll get off the call and I'm like, I don't think I made sense to me. Like, what am I? Because when you're comparing so many different things, so I think that that's a really powerful tool. I'm like looking at my bar of the different bookmarks of what I use, but yeah, software is great. There's a lot of great products out there. HomeBot, it's great to stay in front of people. Using a CRM is great. Um, but yeah, I like the software.
Perfect. Yeah, no, and you
The
brought a
toys.
yeah, you brought a Wiki Realty, and then that's they were at Fuse, and I was able to sit down with those guys for about 20 minutes, and so I'm not even trying to plug them. I'm just being honest here. That's an amazing product.
Yeah, because like mortgage, I learned something like I was trying to get my business off the ground and I dedicated myself, like, I'm going to learn how to run Facebook ads. And like, I would think of these things like, oh, this mortgage product, 3% down conventional. To us, that's sexy. We're like 3%, but a human wants to look at a house, and I learned that people don't really care to talk about mortgages. Most of them probably loathe it. And our competitors, well, all they're doing is, hey, they're talking mortgages. So sending out content about like a new business opening in town, or like an event that's going to be really cool. People are going to click on that wouldn't normally see you. And that's what I think is so cool about that particular product.
Yeah, no, it's great, and yeah, that I think that's part of the secret sauce per se. Now, I think it's also based off of where you are, but the secret sauce, and each person's different. We just did a podcast and someone talking about YouTube, and it was absolutely engaging. It was great, and I've never gone down that route, but there are secret sauces out there, and I don't think there's one specific one, but I like what you're doing. All right, so let's talk a little bit about your company itself, and one of the things that another topic that I always say, we can never talk enough about is building a team. So tell me about your team right now.
Right now, well, Luna Lending is right now we're a DBA of another fantastic broker in California. My company, Luna Lending Inc.'s approved in California and Colorado. I'm turning on like any day, my own shop. But I hired a contract processor, not hire, but started working with a contract process maybe 2 years ago, and killed it. I mean, it was a great fit. I kept bumping up her profile, and now she works for Luna Lending. And then, so that was great because I wasn't processing anymore, and that took a lot off my plate. It was a great experience doing it up front because now I can roll up my sleeves into a file and do that part. And that's Sharon. Sharon's amazing. And then a little over a year ago, maybe 14 months, I brought in an LOA, Ashlyn, who's also fantastic. I'm very lucky to work with such great people, but she had no mortgage experience, but very smart and personable. And I thought she'd do well. So put her through I always say it wrong, Zinix,
Oh, Zinix.
Zinix.
Yes.
That's the one. Put her through that and just kind of trained her to pull credit and step out and flowify and look at items and send disclosures and do the whole setup to free me up to take new applications and get within the community and take care of my partners and maybe not work every once in a while. So that's our staff. And then we recently brought on Athena. She'll go through, like, one thing I noticed was a huge bottleneck was, gosh, at one point I was tough on home inventory, but we had 60, 65 pre-approved buyers in our CRM that are out looking at houses. And I'm like, I'm missing something here because for every other day, I'm like, I'm going to call all of them. Tomorrow. And I would never get a chance to touch them and call them unless they were reaching out to me. So Athena will go through and call them just to say hi and make those calls. She's licensed and she's going to be a loan officer very soon. So she helps us make calls, but it's a team of three. And then went and added benefits, so health insurance for the company and the 401k. And so that's my support staff for my originations. And then in the future, look to bring other loan officers into this platform because I think it's working really well. It's got a great brand, it's got a great vibe, it's fun, and it's good for the client. But yeah, that's it. Just a LOA and LP front and back, and a roamer, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, no, that trust me, there's nothing wrong with that. I absolutely love that. Okay, so these people, so you brought in, your processor who knew, in essence what was going on. She had experience, but then you brought in, and this is what I want to touch base on. I think you said her name was Athena. Did
Well,
you?
Ashlyn came in next, but the
Ashley came in, and she had zero experience, correct?
zero.
Okay, let's talk about that right there because I think us in the industry we tend to shy away from people like those because we know all of the details that go on to loans, the front end, the back end, the middle, the communication. But really, there's a lot of good people out there that can do what we do and can help us grow our business. So walk me through that. How I got two questions for you, and I'll start with the first one. How did you train her?
a lot of screen shares, setting up files together. I personally, I found that showing and teaching for me was harder than doing it, and it was a huge adjustment just to not do it. But to think if I teach it now how to do it, then in the future it'll be done, and I can be doing something else. I like when things are happening simultaneously, like things are
Right.
happening right now, but I can talk to you. A lot of patience, and just correcting things, but explaining the why.
Yep.
And then providing resources. UWM has a lot of resources. AIM has a lot of resources. But we talk on Slack all day. So, just having a Slack open, and probably the most important is just having an environment where there's no stupid questions and someone's comfortable to ask questions. And if it doesn't make sense, to ask it again and not, be scared of that. I hope that we create that kind of, environment, because when you've been doing mortgages so long, like stuff in life might not make sense. Like other stuff doesn't make sense, but this makes sense, and we know it. So to teach it is can be kind of hard. It's a challenge. But yeah, just a lot of patience and screen sharing. Going through and shadowing, and I do things really fast. I'm a multitasker. Like DU's running here, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. So I can't do one thing at once, but I've always kind of pondered that, like, is multitasking better? So I think really just one thing at a time, and doing that. And she kills it. Ashlyn has done a great job. I just remember when she got to the point when she could pull credit, verify income. I still double check the income, but like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's right. The disclosures are on point. Like everything looks good, and you couldn't have done it yourself. It took almost 8 months to get to that point, but I think it's well worth it. And um, it's something where there'll be a partner for life, right? Part of the team for a very long time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have a few new people on, and I'm doing a ton of like individual bomb videos.
Yeah,
Like when I do stuff, I just send it here to just listen. Even if you already know this here, you can always kind of tag it and keep it on mind. The other thing and it's important that we do this. I think when we're talking about training is, yes, there's some things where you can just tell them the answer. Yeah, yeah, you figure it out and you're good to go. But there's other things where I say, go look it up on the guidelines. You know what I mean? Go to the
yeah,
UWM site. Go to Fannie Freddie. I mean, go look it up, because this is how I'm not always going to be here. You know what I mean? And it's just always important to know where to go find the answers.
absolutely. And then to kind of translate them, because guidelines read like it's like what the 1099 or the
Right. All right. So my second question is, what did you think was the biggest hurdle when you're trying to train someone new?
um I'd say just the time commitment.
Yeah.
It's a lot of questions, but if you believe in the individual, and that they're more than capable of doing it, like I think of my clients, like if my client asks me like a ridiculous question, it seems ridiculous to me, but then I remind them, well, this person's a nurse. If you put me in scrubs and send me to the hospital, I'd really mess some stuff up. So just realizing that not everyone's been living in it for so long, but yeah, I think just the questions, the number of questions, because you're doing other things, but just still well worth it. Because I think you'll hit a ceiling where you can only process so many of your own loans, you can only set so many files up, and something's going to give, whether it's your health or your life balance or your sales. Do you know what I mean? Like how many times have you closed out your pipeline and then it's empty and you're like, whoops.
Yep. Yep. So perfect. All right. Well, no, hey, listen, I love how you have a small team. I think that's like a sweet spot for brokers. Obviously, you're doing extremely well with it. You're training people, you're getting new people involved in the industry. So, kudos to you on building a team. So, I listen. I know we're all busy here. You got phones ringing, you got doorbells going on over there. So, I'm going to ask you one last question here.
Take your time. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one last question here, and then we'll, listen. This is a great episode. So let's just say you have the floor. everyone's listening to this podcast in the broker industry. What's one piece of advice that you would love to give the community?
I'd say be authentic. Don't be like the next person. I branded after my dog. My dog's like my inspiration. Everything I got changed when I got her. So definitely be, your authentic self. And, I think if in everything you do, you think about your client first, meaning, am I making their life better? Am I talking to them when they can talk? Am I doing everything I can do to knock it out of the park for them and make their life better? Everything will fall into place for you. And then I'd also say just keep pushing. I moved to a new town and started from zero. And a lot of doors got shut in my face, and it was very discouraging. But you just keep pushing and believing and pushing and pushing, and eventually other people will get tired, and you'll still be standing. So just push.
Yeah. No, that's great advice, and I think one of the most important things you said there that I kind of preach as well, which is put the consumer, put the client first. Everything else always falls into place after that.
Right on.
Yeah. So, Aaron, listen, hey, once again, I know we're all extremely busy. This is around holiday time. I just want to thank you for sharing your insights today, giving us a little world, give us a little view of Aaron right now, and just sharing everything that you did, because I think it's really important that these podcasts spread the word out there, and they show like how there's many different ways to be successful in our business. You know what I mean? And I just want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day and sharing everything you had with us.
Oh, I'm not busy. I'm gonna go knit a scarf here, just do some knitting and be chilling. No, but thanks for everything you guys at AIM do too. I mean, you guys have our back, and I really believe this community. So thanks for what you guys do too, man.
No, our pleasure. It's when we get to meet people like you, it makes it all worth it. So, brokers, if you want to get caught up on all of our past podcast episodes, please head over to ingroup.com/broker. You can also listen to all of our past podcast episodes on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere else where you can download podcasts. Do me a favor, leave a review, subscribe to it. Let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what you want to hear, because we're just trying to help this community. It also does the most important thing out there, which is spread the word that brokers are better. Aaron, you're obviously one of those. You're the man. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Have a great day. Okay.
You too.